Dzień dobry Państwu. Wybiła godzina 12:15, więc zaczynamy dzisiejszy webinar. Dzisiaj będziemy rozmawiać o szkockim systemie edukacji. Na początku opowiem nam, jak będzie przebiegało dzisiejsze spotkanie, a później Wam się troszkę przedstawię. A więc na początku opowiem w kilka minut o sobie, o swojej agencji edukacyjnej, po czym przedstawię naszych gości, a następnie przejdziemy do interwiu, do omawiania systemu edukacji w Szkocji. Moi goście też przez kilka minut opowiedzą o szkole Dollar Academy, szkole, w której pracują, a na koniec będzie czas na pytania i odpowiedzi, czyli sesję Q&A. Tutaj na dole w prawym rogu jest okienko czatu. Ja po przedstawieniu się przełączę je na tryb Q&A i możecie tam wpisywać pytania dotyczące albo szkoły Dollar Academy, albo szkockiego systemu edukacji. I po moim wywiadzie, po tym, co my mamy do powiedzenia, moi goście lub ja będziemy odpowiadać na pytania. Zatem, drodzy Państwo, ja nazywam się Basia Salamon i jestem doradczynią edukacyjną. Będzie mi bardzo miło, jeśli Wy też się przedstawicie i tutaj na czacie napiszecie, skąd jesteście, czy jesteście rodzicem, czy może nauczycielem, bo widziałam, że bardzo dużo nauczycieli się dzisiaj zapisało. Będzie mi po prostu raźniej, jeśli będę wiedziała, kto nas słucha. Więc ja nazywam się Basia Salamon i pomagam polskim rodzinom w wyborze zagranicznych szkół z internatem. Zaczęłam swoją pracę z zagranicznymi szkołami już 14 lat temu, a w 2013 roku założyłam własną agencję edukacyjną Excellence in Education. W Excellence in Education pomagamy rodzicom wybrać i zaaplikować do szkoły z internatem za granicą. Wspieramy też uczniów i rodziny podczas ich pobytu w zagranicznej szkole. Od kilku lat organizujemy też wydarzenia edukacyjne, w tym Boarding School Expo, które odbędzie się w ostatni weekend września. Oraz pomagamy zorganizować wyjazdy na Summer Schools, czyli na wakacyjne kursy, podczas których młodzi ludzie mogą spróbować, jak to jest mieszkać w szkole z internatem. Okay, welcome to our webinar, Jan and Jenny. It was just a brief introduction in Polish. So now to start, I would like all our audience to see what Scottish boarding schools are like. So I will play a short video about your school, and after that I will ask you to introduce yourself.
Thank you.
Worlds are passing by the great divide, and I know. Take the left turn and I'll take the right, and we'll go. When all else crashes and dies, oh I'll be coming home tonight, and we'll fly. If you want it, come and get it. And if you're lying, I won't forget it. Now if you want it, come and get it. And if you're lying, I There was a time, but there was never a place to see people like us, to remember a face. Oh, help me now. When all else crashes and dies, oh wow, be coming home tonight and we'll fly. We'll fly. If you want it, come and get it. And if you're lying, I won't forget it. Now if you want it, come and get it. And if you're lying, I won't forget it now.
Okay, that was the video of your beautiful school. I would like to say big thank you for you, Jenny and Ian, for finding time and accepting my invitation to tell Polish parents about Scottish education system. Could you please introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi everybody. My name is Jenny Shilady. I am the Director of Marketing, Admissions and Development here at Dollar Academy. I'm also a former pupil of the school. So I went to Dollar Academy. I left about 20 years ago, and my children are now at Dollar Academy as well. So yeah, I have a long history of the school.
Hi everyone, I'm Ian Monroe. I'm the rector of Dollar Academy. So rector is a Scottish word for headmaster. So I'm the headmaster here at the school. That means I kind of oversee everything that goes on here. I've been at Dollar for 5 years now, and I've enjoyed almost every minute of it. And I'm delighted to be here with you all in Poland today.
Thank you so much. So now it's the time to introduce your fabulous school.
Yeah, I've just got a very short presentation because hopefully you got a sense from the film of what Dollar Academy is all about. And I know you want to hear lots about the education system, but just a quick background to the school. So we are located in the centre of Scotland, so about 45-minute drive from Edinburgh, in the beautiful Scottish countryside. We have a 70-acre campus, so quite a large campus, and we have about 1,350 children at the school, aged from 5 right up to 18. The school is 25-minute drive from the Glen Eagles Resort, where we also have a golf academy, and an hour from the famous beaches and golf courses of St Andrews. So we're very, very sort of centrally located in Scotland. These are some photos just to bring it to life a little more. So the image in the top right, that's the town of Dollar itself. So it's a very small town. The school is a very big part of the town, but there's shops, there's cafes, there's a bookstore. So it's not sort of in the middle of nowhere, but it's not in a big city. And in the center of the screen, you can see the Castle Campbell. So that sits just behind the school, actually. It's about a sort of 10-minute walk from the school. So we're very lucky to be located in such a beautiful part of the world. These are the cities that surround the school. So all of these cities are within an hour's drive. So Edinburgh, Glasgow, St Andrews, Perth, Stirling, and our international students will get to visit all of these cities if they come over and stay at the school. So why Dollar? There's lots of wonderful schools out there to choose from. We have just been named as the 2024 Sunday Times Independent School of the Year in Scotland, which is a wonderful accolade. We offer the widest range of academic subjects in Scotland, so we can talk about that a little more later on, but we have 35 different subjects that children can choose from. And that's complemented by over 120 co-curricular activities. So The school is great for children that want to get involved and try out lots of different subjects and activities. We have first-class teachers, coaches, and instructors, and excellent facilities at the school. And our boarders get to benefit from these in the evenings and at weekends as well. We are a successful school. We're quite an academic school. So 60% of our leavers go on to Russell Group universities in the UK. And we also have an increasing number of children leaving us for Ivy League colleges in the US as well. So an education at Dollar really does open doors for going on to study anywhere in the world. Medicine, law, economics, and engineering are usually our most popular degree choices every year. As I said, we have top academic results. The table just shows there our A grade percentages and our pass rates. So you can see pass rates sort of consistently very, very high, and our A grade percentage is also very high. So we can talk about this a little bit later on, about the differences between this and sort of A level and IB. But hopefully, you'll get a sense of just sort of how successful a school we are and how successful our students are in terms of exam results. This is just a selection of our co-curricular range. So our school week runs Monday to Friday. We don't have school on Saturdays. Lessons finish at 3:25, and then most of our students will take part in a co-curricular activity after school. So there's 120 to choose from. So sport, music, art, through to things like beekeeping. We have beehives in school, and we have children who look after the bees. And we currently have alpacas in the school that children can also look after. We have an alpaca club. So all of the traditional things you might expect from a UK boarding school, and then some exciting stuff as well. And a brief overview of the boarding setup at Dollar. So we have 3 boarding houses at the school, which are home to 100 boys and girls aged 10 to 18. 50 of those are from the UK and 50 are international. And our international boarders are made up of 24 different nationalities. So it's a very diverse population. We have quotas in place to make sure that no one nationality dominates within the house. The other thing that's worth mentioning is 98 of our 100 boarders are full-time boarders. So that means that they're here over the weekends as well. They're with us all through the term. So increasingly, schools are sort of offering flexi boarding to day pupils, which means kids come in for 1 or 2 days during the week, but then the houses are quite empty at weekends. And that's definitely not the case at Dollar. We're quite a sort of traditional school in that sense. We also have 350 day pupils who live in the town of Dollar itself, which is lovely. So the boarders have a very close circle of friends inside the boarding house, but also outside the boarding house. They can go and stay with friends at weekends. So we would like to try and sort of replicate a sort of family home environment. So we want it to feel as normal as possible for our boarders who come over and stay with us. And that's us. Hopefully I didn't bore you too much.
Okay, thank you so much, Jenny. I would just like to remind, because I see few people joined after I told what we are planning to do. In the chat box in the right corner, you can write questions to Jenny and Ian or to me. You can do that all the time during our interview. However, we will be answering them after we finish talking about what we want to tell you about, and then it will be time to answer your questions. So feel free to type them anytime. Okay, Jenny, Ian, I will be asking the questions that I think are interesting for Polish families, and you can decide between the two of you who will be answering. And let's start with the first question, for which we are a bit prepared, and you even have a slide. So could you provide an overview of the educational system in Scotland? And I would like to focus on secondary education and boarding school as what it is usually about for students studying abroad. I'll put this slide on, if that's okay.
Yes. That's absolutely fine, thank you. So the Scottish education system, all the way through from the young students and to the top students, it's really all about breadth, choice, and personalisation. So all the way through, whether they're little or in the exam years, it's about building a programme that they get to choose, that fits for them, and it's aimed to really help our young people be global citizens so they can go out into the world and be a force for good. In the secondary phase, which I think you're most interested in the final 3 years of school, students in Scotland will sit national exams. So in year 11, they sit exams called National Fives. Now, National Fives are quite important in that they're the first national exams that students sit, but they're not really going to decide what that young person is going to go on and do in life. So they're kind of a practice run at your exams. They're a bit like GCSEs in the English system or the middle years program with IB. In year 12, what we call Form 5, students will sit 5 exams, and we call those hires, Scottish hires. Some might take 6, some might take 4, but the majority would sit 5 of these exams. And they are 1-year courses. So at the end of that year, students sit national exams. And if they do well in those exams, those higher exams have actually got enough currency to take you into a university, either in the UK or abroad. So Scottish hires are very powerful qualifications. They're different from an A level in that in an A level, you're going to pick maybe 3 or 4 subjects, do them for 2 years, and at the end of 2 years, you'll get an exam, hopefully you do well in. But with the higher, it's this 1-year course. Now, the advantage of that is that sometimes our young people in year 12 think, I want to be a doctor or a lawyer or an accountant. And then after a year of studying subjects that would take you to that path, they think, I don't want to do that. In the Scottish system, you can pivot, you can swap. It's that choice thing. You say, right, I'm not going to take all the sciences because I don't want to be a doctor. I'm actually going to take a whole new set of subjects, humanities subjects, because I want to be a lawyer. So you can swap. If you do want to go further with the subjects you're doing, then in year 13, you can take advanced hires. Now, advanced hires are really powerful qualifications. They carry more UCAS points than A levels, and they're equivalent to first year university study. So the Scottish system is about choice and breadth, and students can kind of pick a path that works for them. It's way more flexible than A levels. It's even more flexible than the IB, where you're going to pick 6 subjects, you're going to get breadth, but some of them you're going to be told you have to take them. Whereas in Scotland, you can pick what you want. And we work really hard with our students to make sure we get them on good programs that are right for them. And as Jenny said earlier, these are qualifications that are recognised all around the world. So when we mentioned Ivy League colleges, our students in the past 3 years have gone to places like Harvard, Columbia, and Stanford. So the Scottish system is a really powerful thing to do.
Yes, and thank you so much for explaining this. And could you tell us how the Scottish system differ from the English education system, especially in terms of curriculum and teaching approach?
Yeah, I think at the top end, the English system just has a lot less choice and a lot less flexibility. So you pick 3 subjects or 4 subjects for your A levels, you study them for 2 years, and then you sit an exam. Now, if you're very sure what you want to do, that might be a good strategy in terms of the subjects you pick. It's very risky in terms of assessment outcomes because it's all on a final exam at the end of 2 years. Whereas Scottish system, choice, so you don't have to take 3, you might want to take 5. or 4 or 6. And at the end of the year, you find out how you're doing, and you can go further with advanced hires, or you can go a different way. So it's all about breadth. I think there are also some differences in the way that the curriculum is designed or built. So in Scotland, we have this focus. We have a thing called the curriculum for excellence. So it is about preparing people to be global citizens. That's the term. So I think Scotland has a good international outlook, whereas in England, creating global citizens isn't necessarily a goal of the curriculum. So that's a kind of geopolitical difference between the two countries, which is reflected in the education system.
I see, and yeah, it's good that you mentioned that the English system is good for those who are exactly sure what they want to do in the future. And when I talk to the family, I usually advise IB diploma for those who are not sure what to do. And I know many Scottish boarding schools have IB diploma. So could you now maybe compare a bit IB diploma and the Scottish system?
Yeah, in some ways, the Scottish system is more similar to the IB in that you take a range of subjects, so there's more breadth. Um, the difference again is that with the IB program, there are some subjects that you have to take. So theory of knowledge, you have to take it. There's no choice for the learner. Whereas with the Scottish system, you get to pick. The other, I think sometimes one of the challenges for students on the IB program is that they study the IB, which is a fantastic qualification. It's quite hard, I would say. And we have seen a number of universities and colleges saying, well, it's great you've done the IB, but we're actually interested in the scores you got in maybe in your 3 major subjects. At which point some students have said, well, why did I do the whole IB if the university or college is only interested in the top 3? I should have done A levels or higher. So obviously we're sat here at a Scottish school. We've both gone to similar Scottish schools, so we would be big advocates for the Scottish system. But beyond that, our students go to the very top colleges and universities in the world. So it is really well respected.
Okay, thank you. And now I would like to ask, why Scotland? What are the advantages of choosing a Scottish boarding school over an English one, which is quite popular in Poland already?
Yeah, okay. We're biased, obviously, because we're Scotland. I mean, I would say, touching on what Ian said earlier about the sort of geopolitical sort of landscape, I guess. I mean, I think Scotland is quite international in terms of its outlook. I think, Scotland voted to remain in the EU. Scotland feels very much sort of part of Europe. And I think in general, Scottish people are very warm. They're very welcoming. We're very friendly, and it's not to say that the English schools aren't, but I would say, just as a sort of generalization, I think Scottish people are very kind of warm, welcoming, and quite outward looking as well.
Yeah, I think we're very proud to be a Scottish independent school. That's why we do the Scottish curriculum. That's why we recruit lots of Scottish students, because we think it is a friendly, outward looking country, which is a real strength, as well as the geopolitical thing, which I would agree with. I think Scotland is also a very beautiful country in terms of our landscape. So our school is 40, 50 minutes from Edinburgh and Glasgow to, international cosmopolitan cities. But we sit at the base of these beautiful mountains and hills and lochs. So I think it's an amazing place for students to come and learn, and also for people to work. I've been saying this quite a lot recently, that I think beautiful places can lead to beautiful thoughts. And we are so lucky to be surrounded by the landscape that we are.
Okay, thank you. And you mentioned the landscape, and I would like also to discuss the weather a bit, because usually when I mention Scotland to prospective parents, they would say, "Oh no, it's so grey and cold. We don't really want it." I've been to Scotland several times. but you live there, so can you tell us a bit how it
Yeah,
is?
yeah. So Scotland never gets very cold. This is lots of people think this, but as somebody who loves skiing and mountaineering in winter, it's very hard to find snow. And I think increasingly with climate change, it's even harder to find snow. So Scotland does have a winter and it does have a summer, but there aren't extremes of weather here. It's pretty settled throughout. Um, the weather can be quite variable. So you could have a day whereby it's really sunny and then it's a bit cloudy. And the next day might start a bit cloudy and then be quite sunny in the summer. But we don't have huge rainfall. There are parts of Scotland where there is more rainfall. So the west coast, there's more rain. But where we are in the middle, the climate's pretty settled. In the winter, you sometimes see some snow up in the hills and the mountains. So that's pretty or visually a nice thing. But I'm trying to think, in the 5 years I've been here, I think we've had snow maybe once,
Yeah.
one day. So,
Oh, wow. So
yeah,
that sounds like it's actually warmer than in Poland.
yeah. Twice actually, twice. There were 2 days because it was one day when the students were here and we had a big snowball fight. So that was fun. And the other day was the first day of the Christmas holidays 2 years ago. So
Okay, lovely. Well, I also think it cannot be that bad because if I'm not wrong, Queen Elizabeth II, she used to spend her summers in Scotland, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
so she was based up at Balmoral, which is a little bit further north than us. So some people would say it must be even colder there, but it's just not. And I think if you're in the center of Scotland, it's pretty warm. It's the warmest part probably.
I think it's about 16 degrees today.
Yeah.
The weekend was very hot. It was sort of 24 degrees. Everyone was in shorts and t-shirts. So I'd imagine it. I mean, it's very similar to England, I think, in terms of climate. There's really not this huge difference.
Yeah, I mean, it is a British thing. We are obsessed with weather.
Yeah.
So I think this is internationally why people think the weather in this country must be crazy, because whenever you meet another British person, and particularly an English person, they will say, "Oh, how are you? How is the weather?" So it's a national fascination.
Yes, yes. And another thing that Polish families are often worried when they hear about education in Scotland is the language and the Scottish accent. You don't really sound like Scottish people.
Well,
Yeah.
well, I think we do. There are parts of Scotland where the accent is quite strong. So West Coast and up north on the West Coast, there are strong accents. But in schools like Dollar and in the Central Belt, I think everyone would sound more like us.
Yeah.
And I'm from Aberdeen originally, so that's quite far north.
Yeah, I mean, I'm from Dollar, and I've worked all around the world, and no one has ever struggled to understand me as far as I'm aware. So I mean, I think it's yeah. Hopefully, everyone can understand this okay on the call. But this is how people talk
Yeah.
in Dollar.
Yes, because well, what parents sometimes say, I want my child to learn proper English while studying abroad. So I think a Scottish boarding school is a good place to learn proper English.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's a reason why students come here, because I meet hundreds of students every year who want to come to Dollar, and they're often motivated by, they're really excited by the range of subjects. They're excited by the campus and the people, but lots of them, they really want to develop their English language. That's one of the important things for them, which is a great journey to go on with these little people who come with their English maybe here and then they leave with it better than us.
Yeah, yeah. So you say about students who come here. So what support is available for international students to adapt to the Scottish education system and the culture of your school?
Yeah, so that happens, and there are different things in place to support them because we recognize starting a new school anywhere is hard or can be hard. But when you're moving away from your family and there's a new language, thought needs to be given to how we support our international pupils. So on the language front, we have an English as an additional language department, and they will tailor the level of support required to the individual. So some students come and their English is actually very good. And I think it's a confidence thing. They just need to live in another country and use it every day to believe it's good. Equally, some students come who really do need some help in language acquisition. So the EAL team, they will work with students to help with that. And if students want to do IELTS qualifications or exams in that area, they can. Every new student who starts at Dollar will get a buddy, and they'll be teamed up with different students to make sure they find their way around the campus, encourage them to try new clubs and activities, which are a great way to make new friends. So I think most boarding schools in the UK would do these similar things, which help. I always say to parents that these things are good, but the reason I think why people settle so quickly at Dollar is actually the overall culture of the school. I mean, all these things definitely help. If you need to develop your language, language lessons will help. But I think people are happy here because the culture is a caring, warm place where people are nice and respectful of each other. And the boarding houses are run like big family homes. So they're not like a kind of travel lodge approach to boarding. It's very much a kind of, they're all in it together. And close relationships between teachers and pupils and house parents and pupils and all the house staff we have who help the houses run.
Lovely, lovely. You mentioned the language and language support. Shall I understand that students can apply with any level of English?
Yeah.
Even to like year 12 or 13? No.
Well, at that, yeah, so that's a good point. So in year 11, if the language isn't great, then if we work with a family to view this as a multi-year project, so okay, year 11 will be quite challenging, but by year 13, they'll have the qualifications they need. Then we look at that. But you're right. If somebody comes in year 12 or 13 and the language isn't great, that's going to be really hard. I mean, they'll have a lovely time, I'm sure, and the cultural thing. But in terms of the school saying we will help your young person get a great set of qualifications, that's just quite hard without the language in place.
Yes, yes. So the youngest Polish students I worked with were 11 when starting boarding school. So I think at this age, they don't really need to speak good English.
No, and they learn it so quickly at that stage. So when we have younger students who come, whose level of English is not good, the acquisition rate is really fast. They learn it really quickly.
Nice, nice. Okay, I will ask the last questions I wanted to ask you. Then we will go to the questions from our audience because I see they started showing up. So parents usually invest in boarding school education and education abroad for the reason they want their students to proceed to some good universities or have great career. So how does Dollar Academy and Scottish education in general, how does it ensure a smooth transition from boarding school to university and career?
We do that in different ways. So every pupil at the school in their final year, when they're applying to colleges, university, employment, they get a personal tutor. So that personal tutor will work really closely with the student throughout the year to help them reach their goals of where they want to go next. It's quite an experienced team of tutors. So there are some tutors who have lots of expertise in applications to maybe Oxford or Cambridge. I do some tutoring. I'm increasingly interested in the North American thing. So we've got a team of people like me who, are have got a feel for that American process and the different essays you need to write. So I think that personal tutor is really important. Also, throughout their time at school, there's a careers advisor or counsellor, a careers department. So students from even the 11-year-old who comes over with little English, if they wanted to start learning about what they might do next, we would support them with that. For students who are looking at universities in the UK, there are open events and visits that happen. And increasingly, I think students who are looking overseas make use of events a bit like this, open houses, Zooming or Teamsing into different colleges and universities around the world. So again, it's that dollar thing of lots of support, strong relationships between students and staff, in pursuit of that goal that they leave being ready to take up the next steps they want to pursue.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. One mother is asking, she says, it's in Polish, so I'll translate for you. She says she's the mother of 2 teenagers and she would like to ask what are the estimate costs, fees of your school? So how much do they need to invest per year?
So boarding fees at the moment are about £38,000 a year. That includes boarding and tuition. The fees will go up every year slightly, but that's the cost for this year. So that really does include everything. So all of their meals, their tuition, everything really is included within that fee. There's no additional charges for things like EAL support if they need language tuition. I know some schools charge additionally for that, and we don't here. And we also have one set rate for all boarding, so we charge international boarders and British boarders the same amount, which again isn't always the case. Sometimes international boarders have to pay more, whereas we have a flat rate for everybody.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for explaining this. And another person is asking, I'm not sure if it's a mother or a teacher, but it's quite technical question. Hope you can answer. What kind of methods do the Scottish schools use for teaching math?
Okay, so we use a mix of methods for teaching maths, ranging from some pretty traditional numeracy work, all the way through to more sort of real world experiential stuff. So we're sat in the moment in a building called the Playfair building. That's a 200-year-old, very beautiful big building. Sometimes the maths guys will be out the front using angles and trigonometry to figure out how tall it is. So there's traditional, experiential, and now we're also using some AI, some artificial intelligence. So we use a program called Sparks, and this is whereby students will do their work online, and the AI very quickly figures out the areas they're strong in and the areas they need more development in. And Sparks AI will channel the right questions to the students. So we use that quite a lot in homework for prep work in the evenings. So the student might be working on their own, but they're getting sent really good questions because of the AI. So it's a mixed approach.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. I wasn't sure if you can answer or not, if you're not mathematics teachers. Anyway, one dad is asking, what are the visa requirements for students who want to study in Scotland? Are you able to answer this question or should I?
Oh,
Go for it. I mean, it's the same as the UK. So
yes. So for European students, the visa process is quite easy. And I have 2 team members in my agency who actually help parents with visa applications. These days, you need to submit an application online. And for that, you need to have a CAS document from the school. So once your child is accepted, then you can start your visa application. And in your visa application, you also need to put guardianship details. So guardian is a person who is legally responsible for the child while being in the UK. And do you require an external guardian at Dollar, or do you do guardianship in-house?
No, we do need a guardian.
That's the
We give
majority of schools. Yes. So,
Yeah.
and for that, it can be or some friend or family member who lives not far from school and it's certain age. However, we suggest to use specialized accredited agency, because while the student is in a boarding school, the guardian cannot go on holiday or anything, because in case of an emergency, the guardian needs to come to school or to the hospital or to whatever happens. So the biggest things for the visa application is the CAS document from the school and the guardian, and then you can submit application online. You don't need to go to a British embassy anymore. You can do everything, including scanning your passport with a mobile app, and we help with these families all the time. So with our help we can do it very easily. And as somebody is already asking of the visa, could you maybe tell us what's the admission process for Dollar Academy?
So for older students, so they're looking at going into year 10, 11, 12,
Yeah,
13.
majority would start with year 10 or year 12.
Okay, so for year 10 and year 12 students, we do an interview. So I interview all the boarding students, so they have an interview with me. And that's about making the young person feel comfortable, because for many of them it is their first interview and they're meeting somebody they've never met before and operating in a second language. So the goal is always to make the student feel comfortable, so we can then talk about their favorite subjects, their motivation for wanting to come and study abroad, what they want to do after school, their hobbies, the things they like doing for fun. And that interview is quite important because we're trying to figure out if this is going to be somebody who will join our community and be good and kind to other people within it. Alongside that, we'll ask to look at school reports of the candidate from in country. And that's how we do it. We wouldn't ask older students to sit exams because they might be covering different topics in Poland. They might be working in a slightly different way. So we think it's good to trust the reports that come from Poland or whatever country it is, and then we place a lot of value on the interview. That's how we do it for older students at Dollar. And then we will try and come back to families really quickly, within 24 hours, to let them know whether or not their student's being admitted or offered a place, because it's a big deal. Everyone's, kind of anxious to know, have they got in? How have they done? So we try and do that really quickly.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I know it's sometimes stressful, especially the interview. What I also do with the families I work with, I have a meeting with a student when we practice the interview. So then I pretend I am a school principal and ask questions to the student. So then when there is a real interview, the student is not that stressed. Anyway, there is one mom asking very particular question. She has a student who is preparing for IB diploma, and he's in the third year of high school, which is year 12 in the UK. Can such student change for Scottish curriculum?
They can for Scottish curriculum because all our courses are 1-year courses. So that's that flexibility thing. You can't change to English, but you can change to Scottish. And we have students who do that. We have students who maybe start A levels, think, I want to swap, and they swap. We have students who come from IB diplomas. So we can do that, yeah.
Lovely. Okay, while waiting for more questions, if they come up, I would like all our parents and teachers to take part in the survey. This is the first time I've ever prepared survey on this tool, so I'm not sure how this will work. But I have a question for you. You should see it here on the screen. And the survey is in Polish, and I'm asking if you consider investment in your child's education in a boarding school abroad, and you can choose the answer here. Oh, I like this survey. You can see the answers they're coming up. I don't see who answers what, so don't worry. I'm just curious about the statistics. So the first question is, the first answer is yes, starting in September. Second, yes, in the further future. Then no, then doesn't apply. I don't have children. So someone doesn't have children. Still nice you're with us. Okay, so it looks like many people consider in further future, which is great. So what will happen next? As I see no more question yet, I would like to say big thank you to you, Jenny and Jan, for your time and being with us. Those people who didn't manage to be with us but registered will receive the recording of this webinar. And what will happen next? After the webinar, you will all receive an email from me, and then I will be asking you if you're interested in the school and what we can do next. So we will guide you. And if you consider education of your child abroad later than in September, then on September 28th, Jenny will be in Warsaw on our boarding school expo. So then you will be able to talk to her in person. Okay, so yeah, we have the survey finished. Few people voted. Thank you. So most of the people consider it in the further future. So maybe some summer program would be an option to try. Do you do a summer program at Dollar Academy?
We don't do a summer program per se. We do we do sometimes offer a sort of shorter term option for term 3, so our summer term. So that would be year 10 or below. So just for the younger students to come, and they would join us after Easter, and we have a 9-week term going through to the summer holidays. So it really depends on availability. We're quite full. I'm glad no one is interested in next year, because we don't have that many spaces available for next year. So it's good we're looking ahead. So that could be an option if it's a younger student maybe wanting to come and experience it. We had a girl join us from the US last year. She came for 3rd term and has now stayed, and her brother is actually coming next year as well. So that is a kind of option sometimes, but it really does depend if we have space in the boarding house or not.
Okay, thank you very much for this. I'll also summarize it in one of the follow-up emails to make sure everyone knows there might be such an option. And for now, one lady is writing, what a pity, I don't understand what you are saying. Well, yeah, it might be. Well, the follow-up emails and summaries will be sent in Polish, so that maybe that will be helpful. Okay,
Yeah.
once more, Jenny and Jan, thank you so much for being with us today. And I'm looking forward to welcome you to Warsaw in September.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having us. Just to mention as well, we have a Polish teacher at the school who we could potentially use if there's parents maybe struggling to understand, who would be happy to speak to families. She's a sort of Polish national. She's been here teaching with us, I think, for about 15 years. So she knows the school very well. So we can set up, a Zoom meeting or something if that would be useful.
Okay, I think it might be very useful. Thank you very much. So thank you once more for being with us, and I will be in touch with the families, and I will see you in September. Thank
Lovely.
you.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.